You say sorry more than any other word, before questions, before opinions, before entering a room, leaving a room, taking up space, having a need, asking for something you are entitled to. The word is so constant it's become invisible to you. Background noise in your own voice, but the people around you hear it. And what it communicates is not what you think. You think it says, I'm polite, I'm considerate, I'm easy to be around. What it actually says is, I believe I owe you an apology for existing, for having needs, for being in your way, for taking up your time, for being here at all. This is the apology tax, a payment you've been making since childhood, not for things you've done wrong, but for the crime of being a person who has needs in a world that once told you those needs were too much. And every time you say sorry when you haven't done anything, you pay a cost, not just to yourself, to the relationship. In this video, we're looking at 10 subtle signs of over-apologizing, and for each one, we'll name the apology and the hidden cost it's actually charging. Because this isn't politeness. It's a debt payment on a childhood bill that was never yours to begin with. A quick frame. Genuine apologies are healthy. When you've made a mistake, an apology restores trust, acknowledges harm, and repairs connection. That's not what this video is about. This video is about the apologies that happen when nothing went wrong. The ones that fire automatically before a question, before an opinion, before a feeling. These aren't repairs, they're preemptive payments. And the difference matters because one builds connection and the other slowly erodes it. In the household where you learned this, existing had a cost. Having needs was an imposition. Taking up space required an apology. And the child who learned to apologize for being human grew into an adult who can't open their mouth without paying the tax first. Number 1. Sorry, can I ask something? The apology. You prefix every question with sorry, as if asking requires permission, and permission requires an apology. In meetings, in conversations with friends, the sorry comes first, the question comes second. Every time. The cost. It signals that your questions aren't worth asking. The people hearing it don't think, how polite. They think, usually unconsciously, why are they apologizing? Is this going to be a dumb question? The apology creates doubt where none existed. You're not protecting yourself from judgment. You're inviting it. Number 2, someone walks into you and you say sorry. The apology. You were standing still. They moved into your space, and your first reflex is to apologize for being where you were. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your body's default assumption is, if there's a collision, I'm probably the one in the way. The cost. It teaches your nervous system over and over that your physical presence is an obstruction. The taking up space is an imposition that needs correcting. Every unnecessary sorry for being bumped into is a micro-confirmation of a childhood belief. I'm in the way. And the body logs each one. You move through the world with an unconscious posture of apology. Shoulders slightly inward, steps slightly to the side, a constant readiness to make yourself smaller so others can pass. The sorry isn't just in your mouth, it's in your body. Number 3. Sorry to bother you, but before a completely normal request. The apology. You need something. A piece of information, a small favor, a moment of someone's time. Before the request leaves your mouth, the apology arrives. You haven't bothered anyone. The request is reasonable. But the framing says, what I'm about to ask is an imposition, and I know it. The cost. It frames every need you have as a disruption. The person hearing it receives 2 messages at once. The request itself, and the meta message that you believe your needs are burdensome. Over time, they start to treat your requests as optional, because you've already framed them that way. The apology didn't protect you. It gave people permission to deprioritize you. Number 4. Sorry, I'm taking so long. When you're not taking long at all. The apology. You're ordering food, choosing a seat, making a decision, thinking before responding. Normal human activities that require normal human time. But your internal clock runs on a different standard. One where your time costs other people patience, and patience has a limit you learn never to test. The cost. It communicates that your time matters less than theirs, that their waiting is your fault, that speed is more important than accuracy and your pace is a problem. People who hear this often enough start to subtly rush you. Not because you're slow, but because you train them to expect that you think you are. Number 5. Sorry, but I actually think... The apology. You have a different perspective. That's it. Not a confrontation, not an insult. Just a thought that diverges from the one being discussed. And before it leaves your mouth, the apology arrives like a bodyguard, clearing the path and softening the ground so the disagreement doesn't land too hard. The cost. It pre-surrenders your position before you've stated it. The sorry tells the room, I know my perspective is an inconvenience, and I'm apologizing in advance for introducing it. The opinion arrives already weakened, and the people who hear it register, consciously or not, that this person doesn't believe their own thoughts are worth defending. Number 6. Sorry, I don't mean to get emotional. The apology. Your eyes water. Your voice cracks. A feeling arrives that your body can't contain, and the first thing out of your mouth is an apology. Not for the feeling itself, but for showing it. For letting it be visible, for allowing someone else to witness a moment that wasn't curated. The cost. It labels your emotions as errors, glitches in the system that need correcting, and the person witnessing it receives the instruction. This feeling is wrong, don't engage with it. The apology shuts down the exact vulnerability that could deepen the connection. You weren't too emotional, you were honest, and the apology punished you for it. The cruelest irony. The moments when you're most honest, most real, most open, those are the moments you apologize fastest, because honesty was the most expensive emotion in your childhood, and you're still paying the surcharge. Number 7. You cancel plans with a valid reason and apologize as if you've committed a crime. The apology. You're sick. You're exhausted. Something came up. The reason is real and the cancellation is reasonable, but the apology you send is 3 paragraphs long, over-explained, filled with guilt, and accompanied by the unspoken certainty that this person will now think less of you for choosing yourself. The cost. It positions your needs as violations. Every over-apology for canceling teaches the other person that your needs are negotiable, that when you choose yourself, it's something that requires atonement, and it teaches you the same thing, that rest, illness, and limits are not acceptable reasons to disappoint someone, even when they absolutely are. Number 8. Something goes wrong that has nothing to do with you, and you say sorry. The apology. A meeting runs late. Sorry. The weather's bad. Sorry. Someone else made a mistake that affects the group. Sorry. You apologize for things you didn't cause, couldn't control, and have no responsibility for. Because somewhere in childhood, you learned that if something goes wrong and no one is absorbing the blame, you should probably step in. The cost. It absorbs accountability that belongs elsewhere. When you apologize for things that aren't your fault, you train the people around you to let you carry the weight. Not because they're malicious, but because you've volunteered. And over time, you become the person who apologizes for everything, and the person everyone unconsciously allows to. And the pattern compounds. The more you apologize for things that aren't yours, the more things that aren't yours get assigned to you. Not because people are taking advantage, because you're volunteering for a role that nobody else applied for. Number 9. Sorry, this might be a bad take, but the apology. You're about to say something you actually believe, an idea, a preference, a perspective. And instead of stating it, you wrap it in a disclaimer that pre-apologizes for the possibility that it might be wrong, unwanted, or inconvenient. The opinion comes pre-weakened, pre-dismissed, pre-apologized for. The cost. It trains people to hear your perspective as optional, as something you yourself aren't sure about. A confident person states their view and lets the room respond. A chronically apologetic person asks the room for permission to have a view at all, and permission is not the same as respect. You can get both, but apologies only by the first one. Number 10, the thread that holds everything together. You apologize for being present, for being near, for being in the room, for being in the way even when you're not in anyone's way. The apology. Sorry, I'll move. Sorry, am I in your way? Sorry, I'll be quick. These aren't functional apologies, they're existential ones. They communicate, my presence here requires justification and I know it. I'm aware that I'm taking up space that could be used more efficiently by someone else. The cost. It communicates that your presence requires permission. And the people who love you, the ones who actually want you there, hear the apology and feel the distance it creates. You're not being polite. You're building a gap between yourself and every room you enter. The gap says, I'm here, but I know I shouldn't be. And the deepest version of this is the one you've carried since childhood, the belief that existing, just existing in someone's life, is an imposition that needs to be offset with constant, quiet, never-ending sorry. And the people who love you, the ones who chose you, who want you there, who would never ask you to apologize for breathing, they hear every unnecessary sorry, and each one lands as a small heartbreak, because you're apologizing to them for something they've never charged you for, and they can't figure out who did. If you heard yourself in these 10 signs, I want to tell you the thing that nobody told you when you were small. You don't owe anyone an apology for being here, for having a question, for taking time, for having a feeling, for needing something, for being in the room. The apology tax was installed by people who didn't have enough room for you, and you've been paying it ever since, to people who never asked for it, in rooms that have more than enough space. The tax isn't real. The bill was never yours. You don't have to stop saying sorry overnight. You just have to start noticing when you're saying it for something you didn't do. And in that pause between the impulse and the word, ask yourself, am I apologizing or am I paying? That pause is the beginning. And the first time you let a sentence leave your mouth without the sorry in front of it, something shifts, not dramatically, quietly. The sentence arrives in the room at full strength, undiminished, unapologized for. And the room doesn't collapse, nobody leaves, the world doesn't end, and you realize the tax was optional. It was always optional, you just didn't know. At Inner Lens, we trace the payments you didn't know you were making. If this one resonated, the next video follows a thread from the same root, the quiet signs you never learned to set boundaries. It's right here.